The term catechumen is one who is studying orthodoxy. In the early church, it was anybody studying to enter the faith. Some of the martyrs of the early centuries of the church were still catechumens. Their baptism was considered to have been the blood of their martyrdom because they were seeking to enter into the Church of Christ. They were proclaiming Christ. They were, to the best of their ability, following Christ. They were put to death for the sake of Christ before they could reach the water. And Orthodoxy had always looked at that and said, yes, baptism is normative, and that does not limit how Christ may honor someone. For example, these many early martyrs who gave their name and were baptized with the blood of their own confession. How much more sincerity could you want? How much more belief could you want? That happened a great deal in the early church. It continues to happen in some places. That's another reason why it's good not to look at, Orthodoxy as like a checklist. Because, we're not going to look at them and say, well, you didn't count. You gave your life for Christ, but in the early church, that's incoherent. Catechumens are part of the church tangentially. They're not full members. They are formally students studying the faith. They have not been made members of the body of Christ yet. They have not been received, but they do have a place in the community. They're here to learn. How involved they are in a given community can vary greatly from one to the other. I like to involve my people in as many things in the community as possible right off the bat. Typically we eat after liturgy, so come help with the food. There's maintenance things going on around campus, help with that. So forth and so on. Like, what can you be involved with? Want to learn to live as an Orthodox Christian? You start living as one, start fasting. We get everyone started out. Here's a prayer book, here's a prayer rope, here's a fasting calendar. You want to know if this is something you want to do? Start living like an Orthodox Christian. At the beginning of the baptismal service, baptism is one of these services like the wedding service, where you actually have two separate services that are smushed together. So in the wedding service, you have the service of crowning, which is the wedding, and the service of the betrothal. And those get pushed together into the same moment. And you can tell because each one has a beginning and a closing. The betrothal begins with "Blessed is our God," and then the crowning service begins with "Blessed is the kingdom." Similarly, when you get to the baptism itself begins with the exclamation, "Blessed is the kingdom." The service that comes before that is actually called the making of the catechumens, and it begins with "Blessed is our God." That's where we see the three exorcisms and the renunciation of Satan and the spitting upon him and the reciting of the creed. In the early church, not only was this done separately, during the period of Lent, it was done many times over those to be received, daily. Not just once daily, sometimes multiple times daily. Those exorcisms were read over them a lot, not just one time on the day of the baptism. That service stands as the formal enrollment of someone as a catechumen, as a learner of the faith.